Today I'm going to answer some of the questions that I keep getting about my near-death experience in this video. Thanks for coming. Alright, so everybody, welcome to the Odin's Call YouTube channel where we talk about stuff. A lot of you out there have found my channel by having seen me describe my experience with having effectively passed away in a not so fun accident that I had when I was 14 years old, falling through the ice, drowning. So I've been getting a lot of questions about it, both on those channels and my channel, and people seem to want to have me kind of explain from a spiritual perspective what I learned or what I've gained or what my perspective is on having had that experience and how it informs the rest of my life. So I wanted to take a few minutes, and I hope you'll indulge me, to explain to you, explain to all of you, the questions that I get and my kind of direct responses to them. And I think I'm going to surprise you a little bit, so stick around, and I think even the most skeptical among you will be like, oh, okay, I guess that kind of makes sense. So I'll start with this. One of the first things that the super skeptical will always point to is, the human brain does a lot of interesting things when it's in the process of dying. People who die of hypothermia, for example, or people who have nearly died of hypothermia, for example, will tell you that in the moments immediately preceding their death, they have had this sense of warmth kind of come over them, and they just feel like, hey, everything's going to be okay. Just lay down and take a nap, and everything's going to be just fine. You're perfect. I've seen a lot of people explain that. Actually, Frank Shamrock actually explained this in a documentary that I saw about him, where he was on the verge of dying of hypothermia and had this sense of overwhelming warmth come over him, and this internal monologue that was telling him, no, you're fine. It's okay. You're fine, and lay down and take a nap, and you're going to be okay. Well, fortunately for Frank, he knew that that was the last thing that tends to happen to people right before they die of hypothermia, and it kicked in an adrenaline response for him and forced him to go get some additional help. And I think that the brain does all kinds of cool stuff like that. I think that the human brain is very good at adapting to situations and realizing that its demise is on its way, and as a result will trigger some coping mechanisms to make you feel more content with what's happening if the brain believes that the oncoming death is inevitable anyway. No reason to make you suffer, right? So that's the subconscious part of our brain, in some cases saying, hey, let's take a pause here because you're not going to make it, so I'm going to make you feel better so you don't have to suffer through it. Cool. Right. So if you're a skeptic and that's what you think happened to me, that's okay. I get it, because I probably would think the same thing if I was you, had I not experienced it myself. So let me just start by getting to the bottom of why I believe that this was a real experience for me and not my brain coping. My brain coping would have probably attached itself to some kind of physical manifestation of peace. Some kind of a loved one coming to get me, or the dog that I loved coming back to escort me onto the other side, I guess. That's not what happened to me. What happened to me was a completely different thing, and I've never experienced anything like it since, and I'd never experienced anything like that up until that point. While it makes perfect sense to me for someone to say, well, maybe this was just your brain's way of coping with, this stressful thing that you were going through at the time. Okay, I can accept that you feel that way, and it makes sense that you would feel that way. I probably would too, had it not happened to me. So I recall immediately after I had fallen through the ice and was and losing consciousness, entering a brand new state of consciousness, something with which I was entirely unfamiliar but not uncomfortable. It was as if I had just stepped into another plane of existence with which I was entirely unfamiliar, which made absolutely no sense to me at the time, although it's been coalescing a little bit in the past couple of years. And it was such an ethereal, such a expansive experience that if my brain produced that, I think I have the most creative brain that's ever been in the course of human history. This concept of being a pure consciousness, a pure energy, not having eyes, ears, nose, mouth, nose, hands, feet, toes, shoulders, knees and toes. I just, it's not something that I would have ever contemplated before, and really not something that I even contemplate after. I guess that's my first response to the skeptics out there that are like, it's just your brain dying and that's how you're coping. I don't think so. I don't think so because I'm not that creative. Yeah. I'm pretty good at making up music. I'm pretty good at creative at doing certain things. But what I experienced in my journey across the Rainbow Bridge, so to speak, was different. Different from anything that I've ever experienced. Probably different from anything that you've ever experienced. At least I kind of hope it is, if you're still here. So, skepticism, I accept it. I think you're crazy? Okay. That's fine. I don't know you. You don't know me. But if you did know me, I don't think you'd think I'm crazy. The other thing that I get a lot of, and this is a thing that I struggle with, but I'm going to hit it head on right now, is I get a lot of, Jesus and God and, the angels. And I frankly didn't have that experience. As someone who was, at one point in my life, nearly a Christian pastor, even after that near-death experience, and that's actually one of the reasons that I ended up not becoming a Christian pastor, is that I could not line up my faith, or the faith that I was expected to participate in, with that experience. There's no parallels. There was nothing that described what I experienced at the time. And I've had people say that when I went to the other side and right before I woke up vomiting creek water, I heard the voice that said, "Not yet." And then I woke up, and well, that was the voice of Jesus, and I don't think it was. I've never associated whatever that disembodied voice was with, being that of a deity of any kind. Although, now that I think about it, maybe it was. Maybe that's the reason for the name of this channel. I don't know. Now, I'm not casting aspersions on anybody for their particular brand of faith. I saw a saying a long time ago that said God created so many different types of people. Why would he create only one singular way to serve him? Okay, that makes sense to me. But I am, by definition, a heathen and not a Christian, and I know that's offensive to some people, but I love you anyway. And if you're being Christ-like, I hope you love me anyway, too. I'm a big fan of the teachings of Christ. I'm a big fan of the parables of Christ. I'm a big fan of all of that stuff in terms of how you treat one another. I just kind of reject the notion as a religion. If that upsets you, I'm sorry. I still love you, and I hope you love me. The other things that I get is, I find that a lot of people that search for these near-death experience encounters are really looking for some sense of purpose or some sense of hope, or they're looking to confirm that they'll reunite with a lost loved one, or that. And man, I can empathize with all of that. As I lost my father when I was 13 years old in a brutal car accident. I held my mother's hand 11 years ago when she passed away of colon cancer at a really young age, 53 years old. I guess that there would be some peace in the concept that on the other side of this, I get to reunite with those people and, love them again and spend time with them again. Well, based on the experience that I had, I think there's going to be some truth to that, but it will not be anything that I can kind of conceptualize by my current, body-locked standards, because in the absence of my body and in the absence of time, that sense of wanting to walk through a loved one's door and wrap my arms around them and hug them, I don't think I'm going to have that experience on the other side of this. And I say that because my experience in having actually across that rainbow bridge, so to speak, is that when I arrived there, it wasn't, how do I reconnect with the people that I miss? How do I do this? How do I go find those people? It was, everything that I'd just done in life is kind of irrelevant now, because I get to do everything all at once. And that means I also get to hang out with someone that I love, and on some level that we cannot presently understand, then cool, but I got a lot of other stuff to do too. And I think that we reunite with those people that we love in a very different and very intimate and very special way, beyond that current body sensation of being able to wrap your arms around somebody and tell them that you love them. Not to make this dirty, because it's not. You become a part of them. They are inside of you and you are inside of them. And that hug is no longer necessary because it's a permanent one. You're entangled together as you're entangled with everybody else who ever was. And I don't know if how different that experience is of feeling love, but feeling that huggy sensation of love that gives us that feeling in our chest when we're longing for something. I would expect that would have been one of the sensations that I would have had in crossing over, if it was my brain dying and giving me a reason to be content with the situation, that I would feel that deep and meaningful chest longing that you always feel when you're missing somebody really bad. I didn't feel that at all. I was completely content in what was coming. And I hadn't quite reached the point where I understood what was happening, but I knew that I was going too soon. And as a result of that, I was just pretty content. That's a couple of those questions. Another big one I get is, and I've gotten to this probably 1,000 times between the couple of channels that I've been on and talked about this. How did that experience kind of inform the rest of your life? It only informed the rest of my life in one really simple and easy way, and that is it took away permanently my fear of eventually dying, and more than anything made me even more grateful for life, even though I'm excited to re-enter, to recross that rainbow bridge when the time does come. It was less of a deep philosophical thing than I think it would have been for a lot of people, because all it did for me was take away the fear. It gave me the ability to look at what's going to happen eventually and say, okay, I'm good with that, so now I got to be good with what I'm doing now, so I'm not going to worry about that until that time comes. One of the most powerful things that I took away from it at when all was said and done is that I'm ultimately, in my current form, completely insignificant. And I guess that's intimidating to some people, because I know that when I was a kid, the biggest fear that I had was that I would die and that nobody would remember me. That scared me. Now, it's almost completely turned over, because now I'm not afraid to die, because I know that when I die, everyone's going to know who I am, because in the grand scheme of eternity, all of us who exist right now are going to be on that other side really quick. It's a deep philosophical thought. It's like when you go out and you look up at the stars, and some people will say, wow, this makes me feel small, and I'm intimidated by how big all of this is. Well, for me, when I go out and I look at the stars, what I see is, wow, look how small and insignificant I am. How awesome is that? Do I want to have an impact on the world? Do I want people to experience things that bring a little bit more content and a little, the occasional happiness and joy into their life? 100%. But am I obsessed with everybody knowing who I am? No. Am I obsessed with anything other than living the fullest life that I can live and giving the best life that I can to my children and my wife? And that's all I'm after. That's all I'm after. That's all I want to do. And when my time comes, I'm 1,000% content with it. Now, again, I get a lot of religious stuff. I get a lot of kind of new age, chakra driven, get some crystals, it's all over the board, and there's a lot of infighting in the comments about, you know, I made a comment about hell and not thinking that there really is one, at least not in the Dante's Inferno form of it. And you know, there's a lot of the greatest lie that Satan ever told was to tell people that he didn't exist. You know, okay, you know, if I'm the messenger of the devil in your brain, that's cool. Click off my channel. I'm sorry, it's not what I'm after. But the infighting is silly in my opinion. If people believe in whatever, I'm cool with that. You know, you think that Jesus is the Lord and Savior of the world? Cool. You know, if you're going to follow somebody, I think that's a pretty good one to follow. The message is good. But I don't feel any different about that than I do with people saying, hey, we got to live just a mindful life and live our lives as well as we can and, you know, follow the teachings of Buddha. I can respect that too. I can respect most religions to some degree. Some of them I less than others, in particular the radical versions of many of them I just can't wrap my head around and don't like them very much. Whatever you believe, whatever brings you peace, whatever makes you happy, whatever you're expecting to see on the other side, hopefully you get your wish, and that is what you see. As for me, I've seen what's on the other side. Seen's the wrong word. I've experienced what's on the other side, and I'm completely content with where I'm going. I'm not afraid of it. And in the short term being whatever remainder of my life there is, I'm going to live it to the fullest. And I'm not going to live every day as if it's my last, because if it was my last day and I knew about it and I was physically able, there are a lot of things that I probably would do that I shouldn't do. But I am going to enjoy my life. I am going to make the best of it. I'm going to be the best dad I can be. I'm going to be the best husband I can be. I'm going to be the best grandpa I can be. And I'm going to be the best YouTuber I can be. And the best sales guy I can be. Content that when my time comes, I know where I'm headed, and I'm happy with it. I'm looking forward to it. Not in a dark, kind of macabre, you know, morose way. It's not something I'm scared of, because I've already seen it. And it's a place I look forward to going back to at some point. But in the short term, I want to be here. I want to be very much alive. I want to be the best person that I can be. If you have any questions for me about my near-death experience, jump down in the comment section. Tell me what's up. If you want to debate about it, you can come on my channel and we can talk about it. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do. Sometimes I have something half valid to say. This last video that I put out about you know, the 5 best ways to stay married forever. It's a good one. Yeah, if you're in the middle of a relationship or about to start one, it's probably one you should watch, because I think I've got some good insight. I've been married to the same woman for a long time, and I like her an awful lot. And I'm always open to content ideas. If there's something you want to hear me rant about, talk about, communicate about, jump down in the comments, talk to me about it. I'm happy to discuss it, whatever it is. I fully intend for the content on my channel to come from you more than anything. I'd like you to tell me what you want to learn about, because, or what you want to learn about me, or what you think I might have some insight on. Tell me, and I'll do my best, because you guys are exactly what's making this channel successful for me thus far, and I'm grateful for it. Anyway, I love you. I respect you. If I have to, I will protect you. And that's regardless of anything about you other than whether or not you personally are an asshole. Glad you came to my channel. Love you.